Season 4, Episode 13, All the Queen's Men, titled UNITY, because that's what we saw a lot of on this episode. A lot of unity surrounding Madam and her trial, even with Trouble. Guys, comment down below. Let me know, are we trusting Trouble or not? I cannot wait to get into her storyline within this recap. But for those of you who are new here, let me introduce myself. My name is Brandi, and I realize that you could be on any channel in the world, but you're right here with me, and I really do appreciate that. So please go ahead and like the video because it really helps the channel out. And also subscribe to the channel if you do like watching TV show reviews and also movie reviews. So this episode kicks off with Madam's verdict being delivered at trial, okay? The jury has found her guilty on all counts, and they are sentencing her to death by lethal injection. But we find out that it is all a dream, guys. And I kind of knew it was a dream from the rip because on the last episode, we were nowhere near the conclusion of trial, right? But anyway, Madam hears the sentence, right? She's going crazy. And shout out to Madam. She was acting her tail off in this episode. She was acting crazy when they was trying to lock her up, right? But anyway, she stands in front of Blue, right? Like, Blue, what's going on? Because Blue had a weird look on her face. And Blue was like, I can't wait to put that needle in your arm. Something she said like that, right? And Madam just looked like, oh my God, like Blue crossing me and I'm getting sentenced to death. But then Madam woke up, thankfully, and she found out that it's a dream. And she reached immediately for her pills because, you know, Madam got to have her pills to stay stable, right? But my question is, why did it have to be Blue to say that she's going to enjoy putting a needle into Madam's arm for the lethal injection, right? Like, what? Are we trying to foreshadow something that's coming down the line? Is Blue actually going to turn on Madam? Like, why did Madam have that dream? But nonetheless, it's the next morning now, and we see Tommy. He's trying to help Madam out. He's trying to make her breakfast. Then he offers her a green smoothie, and she is just being so rude and nasty to him, like she typically is, right? But sometimes I just want her to be a little bit more gentle and kind with Tommy, because Tommy is my boy. But anyway, we see her dad somehow enter her house, right? And Madam is just so happy to see her dad. She's such a daddy's girl and she loves that man. But he was just trying to deliver a message to her, like, remember who you are. You are Madam. Don't let this trial break you. You know, obviously he can't show up to the trial and support her, but that was his way of showing his support. And then Carla enters the house too, right? She has like on a low cut shirt and her stab wound is showing. Like, do y'all remember like a few seasons ago where Madam stabbed her sister Carla? Oh my God, sometimes I just want them two to fight, have a nice fist fight, right? Sometimes I just want Carla to get the best of Madam, because sometimes, honestly, Madam is my girl, but she be doing too much sometimes and she needs to be humble. But I think if Carla and Madam, if they just did a one-on-one fight, I really think Carla would get the best of her, and Madam don't use no weapons, no backup, nothing. I really think Carla got it, right? And Carla is my girl. I love me some Ronnie from Players Club, but obviously I like Madam a lot more. But anyway, their daddy tells them, like, listen, like, how's everything going with Tony? And the girls pretty much say, like, yo, we don't F with Tony. Like, it's nothing you can make us do that we're gonna F with Tony, right? And the dad is saying, like, listen, y'all need to come together as a united front. Carla mentions, like, why did you leave Mattie B's to Carla? Like, she wasn't even there for you. Why did she get Mattie B's, right? And the dad says he has his reasons why he left the restaurant to Tony. And I really want to know those reasons. Like, why would he leave it to Tony? The dad goes on to say, like, it's nothing y'all could do to change my mind. And back up. Carla, like, respect my wishes. Now, the next scene, we see Gene at Mattie B's trying to get some crispy bacon from Tony, right? This guy is a trip. So Tony asked him, how was trial? How did it go? Obviously, Gene did not tell her how it really went. That Madam seduced him, you know, by flashing him under the table. And he was too hot and bothered to answer the questions properly, right? So he wasn't even like a valuable witness against her. So he didn't tell Tony that, right? But they just continue to talk about their plan to take over Eden. He's like, yeah, I know Madam's going to find out it was me that set up the robbery. And I know she's going to come to me. And when she does, I'm prepared. And we do see that later on in this episode, guys. Madam eventually finds out that it was Gene that set everything up. But we're going to get to that in just a minute. Now, Don. Now we see Diamond Amp on that little ass couch, right? Listen, why aren't they showing the rest of this apartment anymore? Have you thought about that? Like the last few episodes, they're always on this little couch. Why don't they show the bed anymore? Like it's always this couch. But anyway, they're sleeping on the little ass couch, two big people. But anyway, Amp is happy that his mom, Tony, agreed to go to a AA meeting with him. And he says like their relationship is getting just a bit better, right? And Diamond's like, that's good because how you treat your mother is an indication of how you're going to treat your wife. And I'm sitting there like, girl, Dime, you sitting there with a seed in your belly and you don't even know who the daddy is, right? And you talking about you want to be his wife. Girl, sit down somewhere. Go get you a pregnancy test and find out who the baby daddy is, right? But you could just tell that Amp is so smitten with her. He really loves Dime. So I'm not even sure what he's going to do when he finds out. But Amp, he knew she was messing with Big D. So is he going to be logical when he finds out? Or is he going to murk her? I don't know because Amp really has anger issues. Now, the next scene, we're at trial for real. No dream, right? No nightmare. So on this scene, all of Madam's dancers are testifying. Like they all stand on a united front. And they say that she's a good boss. She pays them well. She gives them great opportunity. But she really doesn't take any crap either. But this scene was interesting to me. And comment down below and let me know your thoughts. But I love seeing the guys all dressed up, right? I think they cleaned up a really, really nice, especially Doc. Doc is really, really easy on the eyes, but Fuego ain't bad either. So since the guys were all loyal to her and they all spoke so highly of her on that stand, she rewarded them later on that night with a new fluffer, like a new girl that could, you know, make them feel good, make them stand up well before they perform on the stage, you know? Now, Tommy, when Tommy had to get up on that stand, oh my God, Tommy appears to be the comedic relief now in All the Queen's Men, right? He is so funny this season. But anyway, he gets up there. D.A. Ross is questioning him and he's like, why don't you go ask your mama? Matter of fact, tell your mama to stop blowing me up. Matter of fact, you and your mama could ask my D, right? That's what he says up there on the stand. So he's held in contempt of court and they lock his ass up. So Madam ends up having to bail midnight out of jail for the attempted essay of Renee from the last episode. And now she had to bail out Tommy as well. And when she bailed out Tommy, she said, Tommy, like, yo, why you get up there saying all of that on the stand? And Tommy was like, I can't let nobody talk bad about you, Madam. And she's like, they weren't even asking you anything bad. All you got to do is plead the fifth. And then it leaves off that scene where he's like, oh, let me go study the Fifth Amendment. Like, what? She like, oh, stupid. Just dummy, right? Madam and Tommy's relationship is just so funny to me. And now we're seeing Trouble hit the stand, right? My heart was beating fast seeing Trouble up there, right? I'm like, oh my God, now what is Trouble gonna say? What is she gonna do? But Trouble, they asked her a lot of questions and she kept it G. She kept it 100. She was not snitching on Madam. But let me tell you, Madam got so nervous when they asked her a particular question that Madam spilled her coffee all over herself and she was like, oh shit, it's hot, it's hot. I need to go put some cold water on it, right? So they asked the judge for a 5-minute recess and the judge actually gave them a 10-minute recess, right? But within that 10-minute recess, Madam goes and talks to Smoke like, yo, you got to take Trouble out. Before she says anything, like, Trouble know too much. Like, do you have a way you could take her out without anybody knowing? And Smoke is like, I'm up for the challenge. Let me see what I could do, Madam, right? So I'm like, dang, how Smoke gonna take Trouble out by Trouble sitting there on the stand? Like, I'm like, I want to see how this about to play out, right? But that's when Madam, she goes back into the court after the recess and Trouble is still talking highly of her, saying that working at Club Eden was a dream job, that Madam is an inspiration to her. And she ultimately says that Detective Davis paid her to lie on Madam. Then Detective Davis got belligerent, like, oh, bitch, you lying. You know I ain't pay you, right? But anyway, so when Smoke enters the courtroom, like, Madam just waves him off, like, yo, don't do it. Don't kill her, right? So Smoke walks away. But then we found out the method that Smoke was apparently gonna use to take Trouble out, right? So I'm assuming that when Smoke went outside and the parking attendant was giving him a ticket for, I guess, being double parked or whatever he was outside of the courthouse, right? He was mad. He like, yo, you really gonna give me a ticket? Like, you can't just let this slide? So he went back up, leaned up against the wall, and he had like a straw in his mouth, literally like a straw, right? and something came out of the straw, shot her in the neck, and the parking attendant just passed out on the ground. Like I don't know if she was dead, or I don't know, again, if she's just unconscious and she'll wake up later. But I'm like, oh, is that the way he was going to take Trouble out? Because that's kind of clean smooth, because you might not have known where that was coming from unless there's a lot of cameras in the courtroom, right? But anyway, glad that Trouble didn't snitch, right? And we see later on that Madam is very happy with Trouble too. Like, she hired her own attorney, Lovett, to handle all of the charges, because Trouble got locked up for perjury by Detective Davis after she left the stand, right? Detective Davis was just so pissed off, right? But that is perjury, right? Because Trouble signed papers against Madam, like a signed affidavit, right? And now she's just flipping the script, right? You can't do that. But anyway, so Lovett, Madam's attorney, is going to handle all of those charges and try to get those dropped for Trouble, right? Back to the question at the beginning of this video. Are we trusting Trouble? For me, it's a no, right? I'm happy that she stayed kind of loyal, right? But again, she signed those papers and she agreed to be a state witness against Madam. Like, how'd that work out? Like, we cannot delete that. We cannot forget that, right? So what I think Madam should do is just pay her to go away. Like, listen, you know, I appreciate what you did, but here's $20K, you know, get the fuck away from me. You know what I mean? Like, stay away. You don't need to work at Club Eden no more. Trouble has proved time and time again that she will do anything to save herself, and she is not trustworthy. So hopefully Madam won't just let Trouble back in the mix and pretend like everything's okay. Now let's talk about Blue. Blue in her therapy sessions are really pissing me off. And are her and that therapist gonna hunch or what? Like, I see some kind of chemistry between those two. I really think they're gonna hook up in a romantic way. But Blue is just talking too much to this lady. Like, oh my God, Blue, don't you know you could go on ChatGPT or any other AI app and get therapy online? Like, you don't have to tell all of your business. And now she's putting Madam in it in a way. Like, she's like, I'll do anything for my boss. And the therapist is like, did your boss make you kill your ex-girlfriend? And Blue is like, whoa, don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say that. But listen, you're leading too many breadcrumbs to Madam, Blue. Like, shut up. I really want her to end these therapy sessions. Now, Doc, we see that Naomi, whatever her name is, she goes to Doc's house, right? He's like, how you find out where I live? No, first of all, Doc, why is you answering the door? Why is you answering the door? Why do so many people in these shows open the door? Like, not open the door could prevent so much drama. But anyway, he opens the door and he lets her in, right? So she's like, yeah, I figured out that you were the one that drugged me at Club Eden that night. Like, I put 1 and 2 together and I figured out it was you, right? So he kicked her out and he's pissed off. But my thing is, like, how is she going to prove it? How are you going to prove that it was Doc? But she later on goes to Detective Davis. She tells Detective Davis what happens. And Detective Davis, you could tell she was just so jealous, right? Because when Naomi first came to her, she was like, yeah, Doc invited me to the club and he gave me a drink. And Doc was like, did you sleep with him? Did you go back to his house? Like, Detective Davis, she's still on Doc, right? And also, we saw on the trailer that Detective Davis and Doc's supposed to hook back up. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But hopefully Doc just plays things very smart, because now they're trying to get him for a drug charge. Now, Midnight storyline, right? Already mentioned that Madam bailed out Midnight from jail for the grape of Renee, right? So we see Midnight talking to Am, and Am's trying to drop some jewels. Like, yo, if you still talking to her, like, that's in your favor. Like, you need to get some evidence against her and prove that you didn't SA her, right? And I think that's a good idea. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. Now, Madam be working overtime after court, don't she? So after court, she finds out who Jamal was, right? Jamal is the guy that was selling all of the stolen goods from the robbery of her club. So she found out who he was, and she got him to sing like a canary, as she says, right? She put a gun to his head, like, where did you get that jewelry from? Like, who robbed my club, right? And he just spilled the beans really quickly and told her where to go. So she ended up shooting him in the leg, like, yo, you a snitch. Like, why you talk so quick? At least make me work harder for the information, right? So Madam is tipped off that the people who robbed her, like, hang out at a warehouse, right? So once they have eyes on that warehouse and they see that the girls are there, it was actually women that robbed them, right? Madam and Blue go to the warehouse to confront the girls, right? And they are like trying to torture them for information. They're using like some kind of nail machine, right? Just trying to get information out of them, right? And they ultimately get the information that they need. That Jean was the one that paid them to do the robbery. Jean was the one that set everything up. So now Madam knows officially that Jean is the one. She don't know about Tony yet, but she know that it's Jean. So she gets the main girl, the main robber, to call Jean and tell Jean, like, yo, we need to meet somewhere, right? So Jean doesn't know it's Madam, like, behind the phone call. So Jean is going to meet up, and I just suspect that they're going to take Jean out on the next episode. But this episode was really good, y'all. It really was. And it's looking good for Madam, right? It's looking like she's gonna beat this charge, which we know that she was from the beginning, right? Like I said, she never really has any real opponents. It's no real threat against her, right? We know she's gonna get off. It's just interesting to watch how exactly she's gonna get off scot-free. But nonetheless, guys, make sure you like this video. Again, it really helps the channel, and turn your notifications on for the next recap. See you on the next video. Peace.